Before you skip this video, answer one question. If someone offered you $1 million today, but in exchange, you would lose 1 full year of your life, would you accept? Most people would, because money feels real. Time doesn't. But here's something even stranger. Every single morning, life deposits 86,400 seconds into your account. Every night, whatever you didn't use disappears forever. You cannot save it. You cannot earn it back. You cannot borrow tomorrow's time. And yet, millions of people spend their lives trading priceless moments for things they won't even remember. This is the story of Ethan Carter, a man who spent his entire life becoming rich until he discovered he had been paying with something far more valuable than money. He wasn't born wealthy. He wasn't lucky. He simply believed one sentence that almost everyone believes: "I'll enjoy life later." Those 5 words slowly stole his youth, his family, his dreams, and almost his soul. Stay until the very end, because before this story is over, you may never look at time the same way again.
Long before Ethan wore expensive suits, he was just a little boy living in a tiny house with his parents. His father was a carpenter. His mother taught children at the local school. They didn't have much, but every evening they ate dinner together. His father would smile and say, "Money buys comfort, but time builds memories." Young Ethan didn't understand. He looked through the window every night, watching luxury cars drive past. He whispered to himself, "One day, I'll be rich." Years passed. Ethan studied harder than anyone. While other children played football, he read business books. While friends celebrated birthdays, he worked part-time jobs. His parents admired his determination, but quietly, they missed their son. One evening, his mother knocked gently on his bedroom door. "We're going to the lake tomorrow. Come with us." Without looking up from his books, Ethan answered, "I can't. Maybe next weekend." His father smiled. There will always be another weekend. Neither of them knew that life was already counting backwards. Sometimes, the biggest tragedy doesn't begin with one terrible decision. It begins with one small habit repeated thousands of times. Ethan believed he was sacrificing today to build a better tomorrow. He had no idea that tomorrow charges interest, and the payment is always time. 10 years passed. Ethan was no longer the poor boy who dreamed of success. At 29, he owned a luxury apartment overlooking the city. A black sports car waited in the parking garage. People admired him. Friends called him lucky. On social media, his life looked perfect, but photographs only capture smiles. They never capture silence. Every morning, his alarm rang at 5 a.m. Meetings, flights, phone calls, contracts, deadlines. His calendar had no empty spaces. Even lunch became another business meeting. One Friday afternoon, his phone vibrated. It was his mother. "Your father finishes his last day as a carpenter tomorrow. We're having a small celebration. He keeps asking if you'll come." Ethan looked at his calendar. 3 meetings, 1 investor dinner, an important presentation. "I can't this weekend. Tell Dad we'll celebrate next month." There was a long silence. His mother answered softly, "Okay, son." That evening, his father stood beside the family table. An empty chair waited for Ethan. His father smiled anyway. He must be busy. Everyone applauded. Everyone laughed. But every few minutes, his father looked toward the door, hoping it would open. It never did. Sometimes, success is loud. Regret is completely silent. 2 months later, another phone call arrived. This time, it wasn't his mother. It was his younger sister, Lily. "Ethan, please don't forget. My little daughter turns 6 tomorrow. She talks about you every single day. She even saved the biggest piece of cake for Uncle Ethan." Ethan smiled. "I promise. I'll be there." The next morning, everything changed. A client requested an emergency meeting. It will only take 1 hour. 1 hour became 3. 3 became 6. By evening, Ethan looked at the time. 8:47 p.m. He drove as fast as he could. When he finally reached Lily's house, the balloons were half deflated. The lights were off. Small pieces of birthday cake remained on the table. His niece had fallen asleep, still wearing her birthday crown. Beside her bed lay a drawing. It showed Ethan holding her hand in a beautiful park. At the top, she had written, "My best birthday with Uncle Ethan." The heartbreaking truth, it never happened. She had drawn the memory. She wished they had. Ethan quietly placed his gift beside her bed. As he turned to leave, Lily whispered. She waited all day. Every time a car stopped outside, she ran to the window. I didn't know how many more excuses to make. Ethan couldn't answer, because for the first time, his success no longer felt like success. It felt expensive, and the price was becoming impossible to ignore. 3 weeks after his niece's birthday, Ethan couldn't stop thinking about the drawing. Not the expensive gift he bought, not the meeting he attended, only the little girl who had waited all day for someone who never came. One rainy evening, after another 12-hour workday, his luxury car suddenly broke down. The road was empty. The rain grew heavier. Across the street, a tiny antique watch shop still had its lights on. A faded wooden sign read, "Time can be repaired." Ethan smiled. What a strange name. He stepped inside. The shop was silent. Hundreds of clocks covered the walls. Some ticked loudly. Others had stopped forever. Behind an old wooden counter sat an elderly watchmaker. His silver hair reached his shoulders. His bright blue eyes seemed to see straight through Ethan. Without looking up, the old man quietly said, "You're late." Ethan frowned. "For what?" The watchmaker smiled. "For your life." A chill ran down Ethan's spine. "I only came because my car broke down." The old man slowly stood. "No, you came because your time did." He walked toward a giant antique grandfather clock. Inside, instead of numbers, there were photographs. A little boy reading books. A father holding fishing rods. A little girl waiting beside a birthday cake. Ethan's heart stopped. "How do you have these?" The old man didn't answer. Instead, he asked one question. "If I offered you another 10 years of success, but it would cost every memory you could have made with the people you love, would you still accept?" Ethan opened his mouth, but no words came out, because deep inside, he already knew. He had been making that trade for years, without ever realizing it. The watchmaker gently placed an old pocket watch into Ethan's hand. "This watch doesn't measure time. It measures moments. When it stops, you'll understand." The old man blew out the candle. Darkness filled the room. A bolt of lightning flashed outside. Ethan looked around. The watchmaker was gone. Only the ticking of the pocket watch remained. Tick, tick, tick. For the first time in his life, Ethan wasn't afraid of losing money. He was afraid of losing another moment. The rain hadn't stopped. Ethan drove home with one hand on the steering wheel and a mysterious pocket watch clutched tightly in the other. Tick, tick, tick. Each sound echoed through the silent car. It wasn't loud, yet somehow it felt louder than his own heartbeat. When he reached his mansion, the automatic gates opened. The lights turned on by themselves. Everything looked perfect. The marble floor sparkled. The expensive paintings covered every wall. The grand piano stood untouched. The swimming pool reflected the moonlight. It was the kind of house people dreamed about. Yet as Ethan stepped inside, only silence welcomed him. No laughter, no voices, no family, no memories, only echoes. He slowly walked through every room. The dining table could seat 12 people. But tonight, only one plate was waiting. His bedroom overlooked the entire city. Thousands of lights stretched across the horizon. Yet somehow, he had never felt more alone. He loosened his tie, sat on the edge of his bed, and looked at the pocket watch. The second hand was moving far too quickly. 1 minute, 2, 3. It wasn't keeping normal time. It was racing. Confused, Ethan turned it over. A message had appeared on the back. Words that hadn't been there before. You don't own time. Time owns you. His hands began to shake. Suddenly, photographs started falling from a shelf. One landed at his feet. It showed his parents smiling beside a lake. An empty space remained between them, the place where Ethan should have been. Another photograph. His father's retirement dinner. Everyone smiling, except for one empty chair. Another. His niece blowing out birthday candles. Looking toward the front door, waiting, Ethan dropped to his knees. He wasn't looking at photographs anymore. He was looking at moments he could never buy back. Tears rolled down his face. I thought I was building a better future, he whispered, but I kept missing the present. The pocket watch ticked louder. Tick, tick, tick. Then, without warning, it stopped. The entire mansion fell silent. Even the grandfather clock in the hallway stopped moving. Every clock had frozen. A cold voice echoed through the empty house. If today were your last day, would this be the life you wanted? Ethan looked around. No one was there, but for the first time, he couldn't ignore the question, because deep inside, he already knew the answer. No. 3 days passed. Ethan never returned to work. For the first time in years, his office remained empty. His phone rang hundreds of times. He ignored every call, except one. It came just before sunrise. His mother. Her voice was shaking. Ethan, your father collapsed. Please, come quickly. For one terrifying second, the world stopped. Ethan grabbed his keys. The mysterious pocket watch rested in his jacket. Its hands had started moving again, but much slower now. Tick, tick. Every second sounded like a warning. Rain poured across the windshield. Traffic refused to move. Every red light felt like an eternity. Ethan pounded the steering wheel. Please, not this time. I can't be late again. He reached the hospital. Without locking his car, he ran inside. The long white hallway stretched endlessly before him. Doctors rushed past. Machines beeped. Families cried quietly in waiting rooms. For the first time, Ethan noticed something. Every person in that hospital would have traded every dollar they owned for just one more minute with someone they loved. Suddenly, money looked unbelievably small. A nurse stopped him. Room 207. His legs felt too heavy to move. When he opened the door, his father lay peacefully on the bed. His breathing was weak. His hair had become almost completely white. For the first time, Ethan noticed how old his father had become. His father slowly opened his eyes. A tired smile appeared. You came. Those two simple words broke Ethan's heart, not because they were beautiful, but because they revealed the truth. His father hadn't expected him to come. Ethan fell to his knees beside the bed. I am sorry. I'm sorry for every birthday, every missed dinner, every promise, every tomorrow. His father gently placed a trembling hand on Ethan's shoulder. My son, I never wanted your money. I only wanted you. Tears streamed down Ethan's face. I wasted so much time. His father smiled weakly. No, you still have today. Those words struck Ethan harder than anything he had ever heard. Not yesterday, not tomorrow, today. The hospital clock ticked quietly above the door. Tick, tick, tick. Ethan looked up. The mysterious pocket watch suddenly began glowing. For a brief moment, every clock in the room stopped. Silence filled the air. Then his father whispered one final lesson. People spend their whole lives trying to make a living and forget to make a life. A single tear rolled down Ethan's father's cheek. He closed his eyes, still holding Ethan's hand. The heart monitor let out one long, steady tone. Everything became still. Ethan didn't cry immediately. He simply sat there, holding the hand that had taught him how to walk, until it slowly became cold. Outside the hospital window, the sun was rising. A brand new day had begun. But for Ethan, it was the day he finally understood. That time is not measured by years. It's measured by moments shared with the people we love. The funeral was quiet. Gray clouds covered the sky. A gentle breeze moved through the old oak trees as family and friends stood together in silence. Ethan couldn't stop staring at the wooden casket. His father's old carpenter's toolbox rested beside it. Inside were worn-out tools, a measuring tape, a wooden pencil, and a folded piece of paper. His mother handed it to him. "He wanted you to have this." Ethan slowly unfolded the note. His father's handwriting filled the page. "My dear son, if you're reading this, don't waste your life wishing you had more time with me. Instead, spend more time with the people who are still here. Love your mother. Visit your sister. Watch your niece grow up. Because one day, they'll become memories too." Tears blurred Ethan's vision. He folded the letter carefully and placed it over his heart. That afternoon, he drove straight to his office. The receptionist smiled. "Welcome back, Mr. Carter." Ethan smiled gently. "I'm not coming back." She looked confused. "What do you mean?" Ethan removed his company access card, placed it on the desk, and walked away. No speeches, no celebration, just peace. For the first time in years, he wasn't chasing another promotion. He was chasing something much more valuable: life. Over the next few weeks, everything changed. He had breakfast with his mother every Sunday. He helped Lily repair her garden fence. He attended every one of his niece's school performances. He even picked up a paintbrush, something he hadn't touched since childhood. One afternoon, his niece ran toward him holding a blank canvas. "Uncle Ethan, will you paint with me?" This time, there was no meeting, no excuse, no tomorrow. He smiled. "I'm all yours." They spent hours laughing, covered in blue, yellow, and red paint. For the first time in many years, Ethan lost track of time, not because he was working, but because he was happy. That evening, he looked at the mysterious pocket watch. It had stopped glowing. The cracked glass had become clear again. The tiny hands pointed exactly to 12 o'clock. Then, something impossible happened. The back of the watch changed once more. New words slowly appeared. "Time given with love is never lost." Ethan closed his eyes. For the first time since he was a little boy, he felt rich, not because of the money in his bank account, but because of the memories he was finally creating. Outside, the sunset painted the sky with shades of gold and orange. It looked exactly like the sunsets his father had always wanted him to watch. This time, he didn't miss it. A full year passed. People in the city noticed something unusual. Ethan Carter, the businessman who once worked every waking hour, had changed completely. He no longer chased every opportunity. He chased every sunrise. Every Sunday morning, he visited his mother's house. They cooked breakfast together. Sometimes they laughed so hard, the pancakes burned, and neither of them cared. Every Wednesday, he picked up his niece after school. They bought ice cream, fed ducks at the lake, painted pictures, built tree houses, collected colorful autumn leaves. One afternoon, his niece looked up at him. "Uncle Ethan, are you still rich?" Ethan smiled. He looked around. Children laughing, birds singing, his mother smiling from a nearby bench. The warm afternoon sunlight. Then he answered, "Richer than I've ever been." His niece frowned. "But you don't work all the time anymore." Ethan gently held her hand. "I spent years filling my bank account, while my heart stayed empty. But every moment I spend with you makes me richer than another $1,000,000 ever could." Years continued to pass. Ethan started speaking at schools, universities, and small community centers. People expected him to teach business. Instead, he spoke about time. He held up the old pocket watch. "This watch reminds me that every second has a price, but not the price you think. The price is whether you choose to spend it or waste it." One evening, after finishing a speech, a young businessman approached him. "I want to become successful. What advice would you give me?" Ethan smiled. "Become successful, but don't become so busy making a living that you forget to make a life." The young man nodded quietly. Those words spread farther than Ethan ever imagined. People began spending more evenings with their families. More fathers attended school plays. More mothers took long walks with their children. More friends called each other. Instead of saying, "Maybe tomorrow," one small lesson had changed thousands of lives. Many years later, Ethan had gray hair. His face carried wrinkles. But unlike before, they weren't signs of stress. They were signs of laughter. One peaceful morning, he returned to the old lake where his father had once invited him to fish. This time, he wasn't alone. His mother sat beside him. His sister smiled nearby. His niece, now grown into a young woman, held her own little daughter's hand. 4 generations, sharing one quiet sunrise. The air smelled of fresh pine trees. The lake reflected the golden sky. Birds flew across the water. No one spoke. No one checked a phone. No one hurried anywhere, because everyone understood this moment would never come again. Ethan reached into his coat pocket. The old watch was still there. Its golden case had faded. Its hands no longer moved. He opened it one final time. Inside, the last message had appeared. "A life is not measured by the money you earn, but by the moments that remain in the hearts of others." A tear rolled gently down Ethan's cheek. Not from sadness, from gratitude. He smiled toward the rising sun. "Thank you, Dad. You were right." His granddaughter looked up. "Grandpa, what's the most valuable thing in the world?" Ethan gently placed the old pocket watch into her tiny hands. "It's not gold. It's not diamonds. It's not money. It's time. And the greatest gift you can give someone is your presence." The little girl hugged him tightly. "I'll remember." Ethan smiled. "So will your heart." The sun rose higher. Its warm light reflected across the lake. For one brief moment, it felt as though his father was smiling too. And somewhere, beyond the quiet morning, the sound of a single clock echoed softly. Not as a warning, but as a reminder. Every sunrise is a new chance. Every conversation matters. Every hug might become a memory. Every ordinary day is actually extraordinary. So call your parents. Visit your grandparents. Play with your children. Forgive your friends. Chase your dream. Laugh more. Love deeper. Live now, because one day you'll discover what Ethan finally learned. Money can buy almost everything, except one more moment. The end.